Monday Night Raw took place tonight in Charlotte, North Carolina. We did not see our queen tonight, as she's on SmackDown now, and we did not see her father giving us a loud woo. We didn't get that tonight, but we did get a decent episode of Raw, and I've been hearing a lot of chatter online that Raw doesn't necessarily feel like it's WrestleMania season. I think the reason people feel this way is because it doesn't have the same heat that WrestleMania had last year. Last year's Mania was one of the best built-up Manias ever, and you had The Rock. That was why. You had the final boss character, him going heel, all the anger of him taking Cody's spot, and then they turned it into an angle, and had the awesome press conference in Las Vegas last year, which is where this year's event is. I don't think that was by coincidence. And that was the big reason why WrestleMania was so much more hype last year than this year. I will say it doesn't have the same feel, and they're missing The Rock. They're also missing John Cena, who we thought would be on Raw every single week. No, he's been on like 1 or 2 Raws. I think that's it. And has even been on more than one time since January 6th when he first came back. And we haven't seen Roman Reigns either. We haven't seen him. And because without those 3 big names, especially The Rock, that's why there's less hype around this show. And also, there's uncertainty of who Cody's opponent's going to be. He's already finished his story, so that's why. However, tonight, it was a good show. And I'm not going to say it's a bad show because it's not as exciting as the previous year. Even 2 years ago was more exciting than this. I will still say it was a good show. However, to be fair to them, last year, it really didn't get really hyped up until after the Chamber. And we're still not even at the Chamber yet. So let's wait to see what happens at the Chamber 2. Ari Emanuel, the CEO of TKO Sports, I wanted to bring this up, I think a week or 2 ago, was on the Pat McAfee show during Super Bowl weekend, and he said there's going to be something big happening at Elimination Chamber. We'll see what happens, and that's going to be in a couple weeks. But for looking at the show tonight, we start off with a recap of the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn feud, the feud that will never end. It will never die. Sami comes out. He looks disheveled a bit. He kind of looks like a mess. His hair and beard. I just thought, like, man, he looks like he's... And I think that was done by design. He comes out and he talks about the history between him and Kevin Owens. Well, I've never heard that one before. I don't know about that. I don't know about else. Kevin Steen and El Generico. I mean, well... Yeah, we've heard that a million times. It's like Groundhog Day, the movie, if you've ever seen Groundhog Day. Great movie. That's how I feel with this feud. It's the same thing every single time. Kevin always churns, and then Sammy's devastated. He promises revenge. Kevin's mad. Then in a couple months, or a few months actually, they become friends again. We've seen this play out a million times. But Adam Pearce comes out and says he can't sanction the match. He's running down why he can't do it because of Sammy's injury. The board said no, and the medical team says no. He eventually tells, or Sammy goes to him, he talks about Adam Pearce's history, and I think that's the first time they've really mentioned Adam Pearce was a former wrestler, because we never really hear about his background. He talks about how he's always known Kevin and Sammy for 20 years, and Pearce says he will make the match, but it's not going to be a sanctioned match. It's an unsanctioned match at Elimination Chamber, and it's official. I hope that's where it ends. If it's just Sammy and Kevin at the Chamber, I can appreciate it in the fact that it's in Canada, it's in Toronto, it's in the Sky Dome. Not called Sky Dome anymore. It's still the Sky Dome to me, damn it. Not the Rogers Center, whatever it's called. But it's a huge dream for them. They're Canadian guys. I'm sure they watched WrestleMania 6 and WrestleMania 18, getting to compete in that stadium, a historic stadium against each other. Yeah, I get it. And if it's just that, hey, I'm cool. I just don't want this match at WrestleMania. I don't need to see it again. And it looks like we might not get it. If I had to make predictions, I think it's most likely we're going to get Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross at WrestleMania, which was a big step down for Sami the last 2 years. 2 years ago, he was the main event. And when he wins the tag team titles with Kevin, last year he wins the Intercontinental title against Gunther, which was huge because he was the first man to ever pin Gunther. Huge, 2 massive moments back-to-back. This is a major step down. I don't hate Karrion Kross. I like him. I think he's improved a lot. If that's Sammy's match, that's a big step down. But Kevin, he's not going to have a step down because he's probably going to face Randy Orton. And anytime you're in a match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania, that's a very solid place to be on the card. Anyway, they recapped the Jade footage from SmackDown, and Bianca and Naomi are here tonight. We just don't see them yet. They show Judgment Day backstage. Liv and Dom are all cutesy, and they took a picture today. And I feel really bad for Dom's wife, and whoever Liv's significant other is, if she's dating anyone. It just must be really awkward. And they're still teasing tension with Finn Balor and Dom. Just kind of bored with it. And they even tease tension with Finn and Raquel. They show Speed his footage from today on his stream. He's really still banged up from the Braun Breaker spear. Props to him for taking that. No other celebrity would do that. They probably would even want to look weak. The fact that he took that, I have a lot of respect for Speed. They show on the break for the international viewers, they have Vic Joseph interviewing Bayley. So they're talking about her busy week. I'm thinking to myself, if she's not going to be on the show, why even bring her out here? Why is she even here? I mean, let her stay home. She's had a brutal, crazy travel week. She had probably a weak performance. I want to apologize for swinging my Vengeance Day review. I said that Julia was bad. I made a mistake. I watched parts of the match again. Sorry to Julia. It was Bayley. Bayley was the one making the mistakes. That was one of her worst performances in a while. She was the biggest problem with that match. The match was still very good, but Bayley, yeah, she was off. And I wouldn't surprise me because she had such a busy week. She was probably exhausted. All the flights she had in a single week. And it's not like the old schedule where you're going town to town or city to city where you're just driving. Nowadays, like, you're just flying because there's barely any house shows anymore. So I think that's why the match, her performance was weak. And here, I'm thinking, why does she even need to be on the show? What did she just talk about her upcoming match at the Chamber? And she wants to win. They had the Daytona 500 winner, William Byron, in the crowd. He was supporting AJ. Before the show, they showed him arriving in the race car with AJ. He had AJ and Dom. AJ went with the Styles Clash. It was pretty standard. After the match, Braun Breaker tries to attack AJ. He gets countered, and AJ basically hits him with a kick, and it causes Breaker to get to the outside. And they keep saying how the announcers kept saying, Michael Cole, how AJ humiliated Braun Breaker. I didn't think he really humiliated him. He just countered him. I don't think it's a massive humiliation. He had the Creed brothers backstage with Ivy Nile. She says she's going to beat Dakota Kai in the #1 contenders match. Dakota walks up to her backstage, and they have a stare down. I like Dakota, and I'm glad what happened in the sex match. She got her due. Ivy Nile, Dakota Kai, okay match. Lyra Valkyria was there by ringside. She made her entrance before. Dakota won with her GTK finisher, which was cool. She wins it, and she's going to get her rematch as her and Lyra Valkyria had a stare down. And we don't know when that rematch is exactly, but they will face again for the Women's Intercontinental title. You had a Gunther and Jey Uso video package. At the break, you had Pat McAfee interviewing A-Town Down Under, who was in the front row. They teased tensions between them. Gunther walks out in the back, and we see him mimicking Jey Uso's entrance. He walks through the crowd like Jey Uso. He rips into the crowd. He rips into Jey. He's interacting with people. There was actually this one kid who was trying to block Gunther, and Gunther even acknowledged it. I thought that was actually really funny. He then goes to the announcers. He corners them. He throws the microphone at McAfee. He asks if Jey can beat him. Pat says yes. It looks like Gunther's about to go after Pat, but then Jey makes a save. He comes out. He fights off Gunther, and then once Gunther retreats, Jey yeets with the crowd. He has Kathy Kelly backstage with glasses, I have to say. She looked quite fine tonight with those glasses. I really like that addition to her look tonight. And she's already very attractive, and she was interviewing Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, and Liv wearing her jean outfit she wore last summer at kind of set the internet on fire. They were talking about Jade Cargill. Liv's denying attacking Jade, and it's basically obvious they didn't attack her. She says Raquel will squash Roxanne Perez later tonight. Didn't exactly go that way. We see Jey Uso. We see him walking backstage after what happened with Gunther, and I think they had I don't know if this was when, but we later saw him doing our interview on the show with Kathy. But he's walking backstage. Kofi and Xavier come up to him. They mentioned Kofi Mania, but then Kofi and him and Xavier say that Jey will lose at WrestleMania. Jey says they suck, and he brings up the time when the Usos forfeited their titles, and I forget exactly what he was even talking about. I was doing reviews back then, but I'm trying to piece. He talked about the Usos forfeiting something, and then Kofi Mania coming into existence. I have no idea what he was even talking about. I'm not gonna lie, but Jey says they suck. And then I think it's Xavier or Kofi, one of them accidentally calls Pete Dunne Butch, and Butch says New Day sucks. Pete Dunne makes his way out for the ring. They do a recap of the show, what happened with Sammy and Adam Pearce to start. You had Penta and Pete Dunne. Right off the bat, I have to say, Penta doesn't have the same juice he had when he first came in. He's starting to wear off a bit. I actually think him being in NXT wouldn't have been the worst thing. That's how everyone's bitching about Ricky Starks being in NXT. Him being in NXT might actually be good, because it allows him to really grow with the audience. And once he comes up, I think he'll actually be an even bigger star. Penta being in NXT wouldn't have been the worst thing. He wouldn't have had the awesome debut in San Jose. But him being in NXT, people would have got to see more of him and been exposed to him more. So I'm starting to feel like his popularity is already wearing off already. They had Ludwig Kaiser out by ringside. Penta won. He beat Pete Dunne. Kaiser was interfering, and it backfired, and Kaiser beats on Penta. And then him and Pete Dunne brawl. Penta takes them both out with a dive, and I assume we're getting Penta against. It looks like to me some combination where Penta's going to get a tag team partner. I don't know if it's going to be Rey Fenix. It'd be cool if it was, but could be Rey, could be someone. I don't know. Kathy Kelly interviews Jey Uso backstage with nobody believing that he can beat Gunter, and he cuts his typical Jey Uso promo that really is not very good. They show highlights of Bayley at the NBA Celebrity All-Star Game. Roxanne Perez, we get a highlight video of her career in NXT, which was good. And Roxanne Raquel are heading to the ring. We had Dakota Kai interviewed at the break by Vic Joseph. Her hyping her matchup with Lara Valkyria. And then Roxanne Perez comes out at the break, which I didn't like. I thought that was dumb. I thought she should have had her full entrance on Raw, like in front of the U.S. audience, even though the international audience all sees her. It would have been better if it was in front of the whole U.S. audience, which is, I think, most of the fans. And there was a massive botch by Lillian Garcia. She accidentally introduces Roxanne Perez as Roseanne Perez. Roseanne Perez. That's what she said. She didn't say Roxanne. She said Roseanne Perez. There's been a lot of botches by Lillian Garcia. She's a legend. She's probably like one of the best ring announcers in the history of the company. By far and away the best female ring announcer they've ever had. She's a legend. She's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. But man, I really think her time has passed. And I really do miss Samantha Irvin. She added so much to the show. She was great. I think losing her is really a big blow to the company. Then he and Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez have their match. Crowd wasn't too engaged. I wish there had been more hype for Roxanne. It does show me, I think Raw and SmackDown have different audiences going to the show than people who watch NXT every week. I think that's told by the demographics because NXT skews a little bit older. So that's something I've been noticing. I kind of wish she had more of a reaction because I really do like Roxanne and I really want to see her do well, and I think she will. Roxanne, I thought she performed well. I thought Raquel was okay here. She's been pretty bad recently, ever since she came back from that awful skin condition she had. But she was fine. Bianca Belair and Naomi interfered in the match to stop Liv from interfering, and they go after her. They're beating up Liv. Raquel's distracted and disallows, as she's like ducking her head in between the ropes. Looking in on the commotion, Roxanne hits the pop rocks onto Raquel, and she did it in a way where it would have been more believable because there's such a huge size discrepancy. That was the big problem. But Roxanne gets the win. I was going to call her Roseanne. No, Roxanne, Roseanne, I don't know. Anyway, Roxanne gets on with the pop rocks, and she's in the Elimination Chamber. You had Kathy Kelly interviewing Seth Rollins. Later about his match with Finn Balor, which was the main event. Then Karrion Kross comes in after Seth leaves. He cuts this impromptu promo on Sami Zayn. Goes on for a while. It's pretty clear that's the direction for WrestleMania. I think that's fairly obvious now. He had Vic Joseph interviewing Ludwig Kaiser at the break. I'm surprised the fans didn't chant Tiffy time at him, because right now his girl is a lot more interesting than he is right now. And I like Kaiser, but ever since he's been separate from Gunter, hasn't really been doing much. He had an Io Sky video package in which she's drowning. It looks really cool. It's really popular. It's something you would see in Japan. When you see this, in some ways it almost reminded me of like this old school early 2000 music video from like the mid 2000s, something you'd see in Eversense with someone drowning. Her drowning, I thought it was so creative. I loved it. And she's talking about her history with Rhea Ripley in NXT, which was cool. We got to see all those highlights, stuff I kind of really do miss. Do definitely do. I always really liked NXT at that time. That whole black and gold NXT. And seeing all that stuff with her and Rhea really gave me a nostalgic trip. And then she rises out of the water as they hype up her match in 2 weeks against Rhea Ripley. I have to say, for a match on Raw, it's been a while since they've hyped up a match on Raw so much weeks in advance. That's taken place after a pay-per-view and during WrestleMania season. So they've done a good job on that. The way they're hyping up, it makes me think Io has to be in the match at WrestleMania. I think we might get a triple threat, and I think that's fine. If it's like Rhea, Io, and Roxanne, I'd love that. As I think there's a decent chance Roxanne wins in Chamber. I really don't want Liv. I do not want Liv in this match. I'm so sick of her. I'd like to see her just feud with Bianca and Naomi or Jade. I want her and Raquel to be involved in the tag team division. I'd actually like to see them have a decent run with the tag belts. That's fine. I don't want to see her in that match at WrestleMania. I think Roxanne actually has a good chance to win. If it's Roxanne, Io, and Rhea, man, I'm hyped for that. That's a good triple threat match. You had New Day out. They cut a promo on Rey Mysterio. They attack him, run him down. They mentioned what they did to him last week, and I think there's a bit different with Triple H and Vince McMahon, because Vince McMahon, they would show the footage. I was kind of expecting them to show what they did to Rey last week on the Titan Trauma. They didn't really get to it. They just talked about it, so that was a bit different. That's something I noticed. LWO comes out. We had Dragon Lee on the mic, who I think was a little bit better than he usually is. Dragon Lee used to be horrible on the mic. He used to be Kalisto levels of bad on the mic, and that's quite saying something, but he was okay here. They go after him, or they go after New Day. LWO stands tall. New Day retreats. They kick their ass. Then Michael Cole and Pat McAfee preview next week's show. The matches they have set up. Backstage, Kathy Kelly again. They must have really liked her glasses this week, because she got a lot of backstage interviews. And the reason we saw a lot of Kathy this week, Jackie was gone. I think she was on location. Something to do with the NHL, probably. I think they have their whole Four Nations thing, so probably that's why. And that's also why we saw Vic Joseph. But she's interviewing Bianca and Naomi. They talk about the Chamber. They want to beat up Liv again. And I think we'll get a reveal probably in 2 weeks. I don't think it's going to happen yet. But Jade's definitely coming back. The main event was Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. And, anytime these two are in the ring, it's going to be a good match. And it was. What do you expect? They had a very good match. Similar to their matches, the two matches at SummerSlam they had. Not on that level, but it was what you'd expect. It was very good. Very good main event. Seth wins the curb stomp. They're eventually going to boot Finn out of Judgment Day, and kind of bored with that. Kind of waiting for that to happen. I'm kind of done with that storyline. I think Aleister Black might be the new leader, but we'll see what happens there. Seth wins, and he's in the Chamber. He's one of the. I don't think he's going to win it, but he will be featured. I think you'll see something with his story play out in the Chamber at WrestleMania. Whether or not Roman's coming, we don't know, but Seth's going to be in the Chamber, and that's how Monday Night Raw ended. As we continue to drive down the road to WrestleMania.